Welcome back, folks. I'm sorry I missed last week's discussion, but I did put up a community post, so I hope you were able to read it. If not, then I'll link it down below because a lot of last week's astrology is rolling into this week's astrology. And also, there was a message from Spirit about what's currently going on with the United States government. If you live in the United States, please forgive the xenocentric, the ethnocentric, I should say, nature of these particular posts. I live in the United States, and so therefore it's going to be based in the United States, okay? But what kind of astrology do we have this week? I've got my notes up already. We've got Mercury going into, well, it went retrograde in Aries on March 15th. And so what that's about is a very spontaneous, fiery kind of connection, especially with Aries. So fire and air are going to get along pretty well together, but keep in mind with it going into retrograde, that might pull up some conflicts that you might have had with some people close to you or around with you in the past. You might encounter those people again. If they're acquaintances, you might encounter those conflicts again. And if they were just kind of glossed over, left behind in the past before, they might come up again and you might have to deal with that, okay? It's possible, I don't think it's likely, but it's possible that you may have said something in the past that comes back around to bite you in this particular transit, okay? So keep that in mind. This is not a long-term transit, but it's still something to be cautious around, okay? Be aware that there may be some issues when it comes to traveling, for instance. There may be travel issues. There definitely may be computer issues. I know personally that I've already had some computer and issues with my phone and all that kind of stuff because Mercury rules communication. And also, Mercury rules information, the gathering of information. So there may be some things that you gathered on a spur of the moment is what I should say, kind of deal earlier, but then you have to kind of re-examine that information that you gathered in this particular retrograde transit because Aries is in this. It might have been something that suddenly you decided to gather some information, might have had to have gotten onto a new project, for instance, that you needed to gather a lot of information for, and now you're having to carefully re-examine that information that you gathered on kind of that spur-of-the-moment kind of feel, okay? So be careful around that. Above all, be cautious of the words that you say. Think carefully about stuff before you say them, and this transit will be a little easier for you. Also, if you were born during a Mercury retrograde, like I was, for instance, then you might find this transit to be a little bit easier for you than it may be for others. So be careful to give others grace when it comes to communication patterns and stumbling in communication. Somebody else may make mistakes on, let's say, for instance, a work project. They may have gathered the wrong kind of information. Give them grace if you can on that kind of thing, and just try to be as helpful or give space to that individual as much as possible, because this Mercury retrograde will affect people differently than it may be for you who was born during a Mercury retrograde. If you're not sure where Mercury was at the time that you were born, or if it was retrograde or not, take a look at your birth chart, okay? And it will let you know. There should be a little R sign next to Mercury, okay? Something else that we've got coming up this week, and I should say, I'm talking about March 16th through March 22nd, okay? The Sun will be leaving Pisces and will be transiting into Aries on March 20th and through March 21st, okay? So there's going to be that sensation of, I need to get to work on stuff. With Pisces, you may have been dreaming about stuff that you wanted to do, but with Aries, that energy switches into, and now I act on those particular dreams, okay? So it's a really good time of the year, and happy birthday to you if you are in Aries. I hope you have a good one. I hope you have a great solar return, but it's a great time to actually get to work on the stuff that you were dreaming about. Now, with water transitioning into fire, there's not that much grounding energy in that particular transit, okay? So this is a good time to lean on your air and earth signs that you've got in your birth chart. If you have those energies, lean on those energies in order to actually put bones to your projects, okay? To those things that you want to accomplish that you dreamed of while Sun was in Pisces, okay? Once again, happy birthday to the Aries folks. I love Aries in my life, okay? And that's not just because I have a lot of Aries energy in my own birth chart. Something else that I need to bring up is Venus is still in retrograde in Aries, and combining that with Mercury being retrograde in Aries, this is a time for potentially some really powerful fights that may come up in your romantic relationships or in really close business partnerships, even to do with enemies, okay? So this is the time to lean on the diplomatic tendencies that Venus gives a lot of us, and give space to the people who might be trying to start a fight with you. And also, if maybe you said something that caused a conflict earlier, this is the time to own up to that, take the L, and apologize sincerely for the heart and say, I hope that you can forgive me, that kind of thing. This is the time to lean into your best and your highest self, especially when it comes to romantic relationships, okay? Well, especially when it comes to best friend type relationships, this is the time to be the bigger person, even when it's painful, okay? Also, you may discover yourself retracing your steps when it comes to exes, okay? The World Astrology Report talks about this being the season of sex with your ex. Be cautious around this. You may have broken up with that person in the past for a good reason. But if that relationship broke up for a good reason, but maybe you or they said something that was not leaning into your best and your highest good, was not there leaning into their best and their highest good, this is the time to make amends, if at all possible, or at the very least to reconsider what was said and give the other person grace for what they may have said. But also, above all, give everybody space during these transits, during these retrograde transits, because that's a lot of fire energy going into this month. And we haven't even gotten into Neptune and Aries, which arrives on the 31st of this particular month. There's a lot of fiery energy that we're working through this particular transit, and it's a time to slow down and reconsider what's being said. It's the time to back off when it's necessary. And if we have to get into a situation, then it's time to stay above ground. It's the time to lean into our best and our highest good, even when it's difficult, even when it may alienate people. Those people may be alienated for a good reason, because you leaned into your best and your highest good. You might be alienating people who should be pushed aside. Okay? Hope that makes sense. Today, I'm going to be getting into the energies of this week with the Thoth Tarot by Aleister Crowley and I think it's Lady Frida Harris, I believe. I'll correct myself in post-production, okay? So there are no reversals, but I shuffle until Spirit asks me to stop. We're going to look at the bottom. This is the Judgment card. It's Aeon. I apologize for my shitty camera, but this is the time to reach into your best and your highest good. When the universe offers you an opportunity to grow your spiritual side, you need to take it at all costs. This is about the collective energies that we've got going on for this week. This is a potentially important week for the people watching this particular video, and even for people who this video doesn't reach. This is still a time for people to lean into their best and their highest good and advance along their spiritual path. We've got another major arcana card here. This is the Devil. There's something growing right here. There's a whole lot of chaos I'm seeing. A lot of people chained to the chaos. This is going to reveal people's true colors, whatever's happening this particular week. I'm getting government shutdown, United States government shutdown, a real possibility that that's going to be the case. Because I'm wondering if Elon Musk and Doge are going to take, and I hate saying that word, it's so fucking stupid that we've got a bureaucracy named after a fucking meme. It's stupid as fuck to me. Excuse me. Mercury retrograde in Aries, you hear that? But there may be something that Elon Musk and Doge do to really destroy the United States government, and that destruction may possibly send people into a state of panic, depending on what exactly happens and how it hits individual people, okay? So be aware of that. The devil is that Capricorn energy, so earth grounding energy. This is, Capricorn is associated with Saturn, so this is about loss, it's about destruction, it's about restriction, constriction, it's about being brought face to face with our shadow aspects, and about us needing to face off with our shadow aspects and ask ourselves who we're truly going to be when things get rough, when things get crazy. Who are we going to choose to be? And unfortunately, that may be a time where a lot of the people around you have their colors revealed. And that might set some stuff off in you that causes you to say or do something that normally you wouldn't. This is the time to separate yourself from the energies of other people, even if there's not any kind of meltdowns, even if there's no government shutdown or no panic or anything like that. This is the time for you to gather the energy, for you to separate yourself from others and focus on you. And that may be difficult if, for instance, you have an energy that flows easily with others. If you have a lot of water energy in your birth chart, for instance, if you have a lot of Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces energy in your birth chart, that might be an energy where it makes it way difficult because it's not instinctual for you to have boundaries between yourself and others. But this is asking you to create boundaries because something's going down with, I'm getting government shut down once again. There's something going down with, let's say, for instance, the United States government that's going to throw a lot of people into panic, into chaos, and a willingness to fight. Once again, we've got a lot of Aries energy going on right now, and that's an energy that encourages people to fight. It encourages knee-jerk reactions and encourages rash behavior. Ideally speaking, Aries should be the energy of spontaneity and let's get stuff done and let's leave stuff in the past and focus on the present moment. That should be an upbeat, cool energy, but for a lot of people, they may take that Aries energy and use it in a subverted way. Okay. More major arcana energy, the Hierophant. This is the energy of the universe, our ancestors, our deities who guide us, recording and paying attention to all the information, all the things that we do, all the things that we say. When we are brought face to face with our shadow aspects, what we do is up to us, but whatever it is that we do, our deities, our ancestors, the universe is paying close attention, and karma is also at work here. So if we do stuff that leans into our best and our highest good, for instance, that will be blessed. But on the flip side, what I just got from Spirit is that this is going to be about trials. When you look at the fives in tarot, no matter what the tarot deck is, often it's about trial periods. Think of the Five of Wands, for instance, the Five of Swords, Five of Cups, also Five of Pentacles. That's about loss. That's about destruction. Now, associated with this is Taurus, and that's about a firm grounding energy. Also goes alongside the devil with that Capricorn, a more earth energy. So we're definitely being brought down to earth with all this fiery energy. There may be the willingness to do and do and do, but the Hierophant is saying maybe slow down and pay attention to what it is you're doing. Your shadow aspect may be spurring you to do stuff that normally you wouldn't do. Use this particular Aeon moment, this Judgment card, as a way to release yourself from your shadow aspect, or at the very least reflect on what it is, the tendencies that your shadow aspect causes you to do or encourages you to do at the very, very least, okay? So I'm going to continue to pull from the top. I was just talking about sword energy, wasn't I? We've got the Three of Swords here. We've got heartbreak. There's some kind of heartbreaking situation that we're going to have to deal with. If not this week, then coming up in the future. When things go really, really rough and shitty, when the flower falls apart because the swords are piercing it, who are you going to choose to be? I've already recorded a video that asks you to spiritually up-level yourself and choose who you're going to be through these rough times, especially if you're living in the United States. Whether you're a citizen or a legal resident or not, it really doesn't matter. This is going to be an area that has a tremendous amount of karmic debt to pay off. And that's going to take generations of people. That's going to last for generations of people. It's not going to be easy, regardless of whether or not you are living here legally or not. It doesn't matter. It's going to be rough, and I see a tremendous potential for a lot of pain. And this is going to be the moment where a lot of people get to choose who they're going to be, yourself included. We have the Prince of Cups, also known as the Knight of Cups in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, together with sorrow. This is the potential to, the Prince of Cups is all about that water and air energy. So this has the potential to, in spite of all the heartbreak, to offer what it is that you can to other people, to say, I am here for you. I know you're going through a rough moment. It doesn't matter how you voted or what you think politically speaking, I'm here for you. And that's going to do a lot to build communities. And you might resent those people who have those particular political perspectives, regardless of which way you voted. But there's still going to be the energy of needing to build community over these next few months, not just this week, but these next few months and even these next couple of years. 2026 is going to have a lot of the karmic blowback, or a lot of the buildup from the astrological buildup from 2025. And a lot of that's going to roll into 2027 too. This is the time to show yourself as an emotionally available and emotionally mature person who can be there for people when they're going through some really dark moments with this Three of Swords energy. Now, with this Devil kind of energy, I'm noting that the Prince of Cups lands on top of the Devil. There may be a point where you realize that your emotional boundaries kind of run over into other people's yards, so to speak, okay? Take that as an analogy. There may be a moment where you need to separate yourself. That air energy you see in the Prince of Cups is just as much about you thinking carefully about what it is you want to do as much as it is about saying kind things to other people, okay? Be careful what it is that you say with other people. There may be some things that you say out of the moment. The potential with the Prince of Cups is that he can blow up a real storm if he wants to, or the Knight of Cups if he wants to. So be cautious of this ability to use your emotional intelligence to kick up energies in other people that satisfy your need for drama, or to satisfy the need to see drama in other situations. Stay away from that. At the very, very least, speak kind words to yourself if you can't speak any kind words to any other people at all. Slow down this tendency to fight back, to strike back at other people, because it feeds the need to see other people in pain. You know what I just got? The word schadenfreude. Some of you may struggle with the idea of schadenfreude here, and this is not the time to lean into that. Stay away from the leopards eating faces meme for a bit, especially this week, especially over the next few weeks. With Mercury being in retrograde in Aries, stay away from that stuff. Possibly stay off of social media altogether. Just give yourself a break. Mercury in retrograde will bless a good social media break, and you may discover that you don't need some platforms in your life anymore. This is the perfect time to discover that, okay? Continuing to take from the top, we've got another major arcana card. This is the High Priestess, landing on top of the Hierophant. The High Priestess and the Hierophant are two sides of the same coin. They're just a masculine and a feminine aspect of the priest-priestess dynamic, okay? So not only is the Hierophant putting you through some interesting, difficult, constricting circumstances this particular week and the following weeks, the High Priestess is guarding a tremendous amount of wisdom. She has a lot of bounty right here, a lot of, I was looking at fruits and vegetables right there on the bottom, wheat and that kind of stuff. She has a lot to share, but whether or not you deserve it, whether or not you lean into your best and your highest self, and therefore deserve what she has to offer in terms of wisdom, is completely up to you. You may struggle with this particular aspect at this point. Tell you what, if you lean into the best version of the Prince of Cups and not the subverted version, the reversed version, if you will, where you cause fights in order to feed an emotional need within yourself, you will be admitted to a lot of really cool things that the High Priestess wants to share with you, and you may even tap into the energy of the High Priestess yourself and start to embody her. That would be the ideal scenario for you, depending on where you are in your spiritual journey, okay? We've got the Six of Swords here. We've got science. This is Virgo kind of energy. Yeah, not Virgo, but this is Mercury in Aquarius. So this is all about technology and science, advances in technology and science. So there may be some scientific discoveries, or, what I'm looking at. I'm getting the energy of the NIH and NASA and other scientific agencies that are associated with the United States. We may encounter some really sorrowful situations, really sad situations when it comes to their dismantling. Okay? And their dismantling is going to be a wake-up call right here with the Aeon. That's going to be a wake-up call for a lot of people who enjoy scientific discoveries or really benefit from the scientific discoveries that the United States has given us for decades. For decades, the United States has been a leader when it comes to scientific discoveries. For years, people would bring their kids or their family members to the United States in order to get some really top-tier medical assistance. I'm seeing something happen with that potentially this week. You may not explicitly see anything happen, but behind the scenes, there may be stuff happening that later on causes a lot of panic and causes a lot of sadness within you, possibly panic within you, depending on how you've benefited from the scientific and medical discoveries that the United States has really worked on for now generations. Okay? Be cautious of that. Again, you may not be able to see it because the United States media reports on stuff that it wants to report on. And keep in mind that a lot of the news agencies kissed Donald Trump's ring, so to speak, when he was first elected, so that they wouldn't be, I'm sure they've got a myriad of reasons why they did what they did. But they're not reporting on a lot of the stuff that's going on behind the scenes because they don't want to be seen as out of line. Be cautious of this. Also, be cautious of the United States government creating distractions for you to pay attention to so that you don't actually pay attention to what's going on behind the curtain, so to speak. And that's where I kind of think that some of this energy is going to come in from. This sorrow over what we lost when it comes to scientific medical discoveries and other kinds of scientific discoveries as well, not just medical, okay? You know what I just got were like the weather agencies, like NOAA, for instance, the NOAA, the National Weather Center Services, the NWS. There may be some stuff going on there that's problematic. While I'm filming this, there are a number of wildfires burning on the United States southern plains that have been particularly destructive. I noticed that here in Texas, I was able to see a very smoky, hazy sky that kind of made me wonder if I shouldn't gather up my animals and get to a safer place. It was that bad, okay? So definitely there's stuff going on that the scientific community in the United States has been hobbled when it comes to reporting and fighting that kind of stuff with all these Doge cuts. We've got the Nine of Cups here, happiness. You see all that watery energy pouring into these beautiful cups, for instance. It's coming alongside science, okay? And the Nine of Cups is occurring underneath the Prince of Cups, occurring underneath the Devil. There may be some emotional news that is of the shadow that brings a whole lot of people happiness because it contributes to their wealth. It contributes to their luxury against oppressed minority groups, against working class people who are just trying to get by day to day. I'm also getting people who have given up on the job search. This is going to disadvantage. This happiness card would normally be pretty cool, but with the destruction of science, I'm wondering if the destruction of science doesn't make a lot of people really happy, the people who really eschew science in favor of other beliefs. Okay, and I'll just leave it at that. Stay away from those people. Give them space. If you need to be angry about how happy those people are that our scientific institutions are being destroyed, be angry behind closed doors. Have a talk with Spirit about it. I encourage you to read your own cards. I encourage you to pull out your own tarot deck and read about how you should deal with these kinds of energies yourself with Spirit, okay? This is very much a general collective read, but when it comes to you personally, I strongly encourage you on your own spiritual path. Read your own birth chart. Read your own tarot cards. Read your own oracle cards, Lenormand cards, whatever the case may be. Do the work for your own self. Your higher self will absolutely thank you, especially considering all the nasty negative energies that we've got going on here. Now, I said all this water pouring in. I'm sorry, with my shitty camera, I didn't see that those were flowers pouring water and light into those particular cups. Keep in mind that even though people may be rejoicing over the destruction of our scientific institutions, you need to be cautious that light is still pouring in, that the Hierophant, the High Priestess, are watching and recording everything that's happening, and that there is a karmic debt to repay when these people have had their fun, if you can call it that, okay? One more card from the top, the Knight of Swords, landing on top of the High Priestess, landing on top of the Hierophant. The Hierophant and the High Priestess don't necessarily take action directly themselves, but they send people who do, and the Knight of Swords is air-on-air energy. This particular entity in the Knight of Swords moves fast when it comes to doing stuff and thinking and planning and all that kind of stuff, okay? So just because you may feel a tremendous amount of sorrow over the destruction of certain agencies within the United States that we have trusted and have relied on now for decades, that doesn't mean that there isn't some kind of revenge being taken, okay? I said earlier that karmic debts need to be repaid at some point. Maybe not in this lifetime, but in following lifetimes. Take a look at Ronald Reagan's video, for instance. I said that he would have a karmic debt to repay over 3 to 7 lifetimes, centuries in total. Okay? Just because someone does damage in this lifetime does not mean that they do not go unpunished. That's what I see right here, is that while our institutions that we've taken, that we've loved so much, while that may be that may be in a deep state of destruction at this particular point, that doesn't mean that there isn't hell to repay. Okay, so keep that in mind. It's an encouraging note to end on. We do have a lot of really, really heavy energies going on this particular week. Even if you don't see them on the surface, there's stuff going on behind the scenes that you may not see because there are a lot of distractions to pay attention to. Ignore the distractions. Work with the universe, your ancestors, your deities, in order to figure out what is actually going on behind the scenes that you do need to care about, that you need to send your energies toward, okay? So enough from the Thoth Tarot. I want to take a look at the Uncertain Oracle by Cedar McLeod of the Numinous Spirit Press. I'm going to shuffle once again until Spirit asks me to stop. I love these cards to pieces. They are beautiful cards. What just flipped up is music. I know you can't read thanks to my shitty camera, okay? But what this is about is tapping into some beautiful music, or some music that you really enjoy. You might enjoy some nostalgic music that brings you back to happier times. Whatever it is, you need to listen to some kind of music that brings you to a good place, okay? Wonder if other cards will shuffle over or turn over. 1, 2 fell out. Excuse me. Spirit says that those are... 3. Excuse me. Reach. Reach out to other people, but be sure that your best and your highest self reaches out, okay? Be cautious with that, with all this Venus and Mercury retrograde energy, and especially with it all being in Aries. Like, my God, that's a lot of really fiery energy that may encourage you to say or do stuff that normally you wouldn't do. It may encourage you to act out of character. Let all of that go. Allow music to chill you out. And you know what? I love Meditative Minds music, if you can call it. There's some degree of music to it, but it's a really that channel puts out a lot of harmonious tones that work really well for me when I'm meditating or I'm just doing some light chores around the house. It's a great way to chill me out personally. Okay, and it might be something that you enjoy too. We've got friend. This is a great time to spend time with friends and reach out to friends, and maybe you want to go to a music festival, for instance, or maybe you just want to listen to some good music while you hang out with those people. This is a good time to relax, enjoy the last energies of Pisces before everything gets kind of crazy with Aries energy, okay? Remember that Will Smith punched, I don't remember his name now. I'll put his name down in post-production, okay? But that happened in Aries season, during Aries season. So keep in mind, sparks fly during this particular season, and getting to take a break before things get really, really crazy with Neptune and Aries, that's a good idea, okay? And we've got Merge as the fourth and final card. This is a good time to reminisce about good times. This is a good time to merge also your best and your highest self together with your present self, who's living on this earth at this time during these batshit insane times. During this astrologically loaded year, this is a good time to take on a spiritual path if you haven't already. It's the time to work with your shadow self. We have that with the Devil card, and this is absolutely a season with all these retrogrades. This is a season to work with those energies that your shadow may encourage. Work with them in the sense that you ask, where is my shadow aspect working from? How can I calm my shadow aspect? How can I unite myself with my shadow aspect? How can I bring light into my shadow aspect so that I become a better person because I dealt with my shadow aspect? You recognize it. You don't work with the energies per se, but you don't work with them in the sense that you do negative things, is what I'm trying to say, okay? You work with it in the sense that you recognize that your shadow aspect, it may be fearful, for instance. It may be working with fear, working with a lack of boundaries. You may say, I recognize that I have a lack of boundaries, and therefore I'm going to do the hard work that it takes to build boundaries between myself and others, even if they're romantic partners, even if you've got kids, for instance. Humans need boundaries in order to be their best versions of themselves. Okay? So that's the energy of this week. It is loaded. There is stuff going on behind the scenes this week, even if you don't see it, even if the United States mass media doesn't show it to you. There's still stuff going on right now. And this is the question. Who are you going to choose to be when all hell is breaking loose, whether behind the scenes or up front explicitly, okay? Thank you for watching to this particular point. I appreciate you, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care.